Ebony had always lived a quiet life in the village of Lufia. Every morning before the sun rose, she would help her mother, Mama Tola, prepare vegetables, fruits and grains for the market. Their little stall was simple, but it provided enough for them to live. Ebony was known in the village for her kindness. She would help neighbors carry heavy baskets, share fruits with children, and always greet people with a smile. But despite her friendly nature, she had never been the center of attention. Life was routine, predictable, and safe. That morning, the sun rose gently over the village, spilling gold across the small mud brick houses. Ebony had wrapped a bundle of fresh vegetables in a cloth and was walking toward the market when something unusual caught her eye. A small envelope lay on the dusty road, its paper slightly crumpled as if it had been dropped in a hurry. Curious, she bent down and picked it up. The envelope was sealed with red wax and had her name written neatly on the front, Ebony. Her heart skipped a beat. Who could have sent this? She had never received letters before, especially not invitations. Carefully, she broke the seal and unfolded the paper inside. The handwriting was neat and formal, unlike anything she had seen in Lufia. It read, "You are invited to a gathering in the town square today at noon. Your presence is requested for an important event." Ebony stared at the words in disbelief. A gathering in the square? She had seen villagers gather for festivals, for announcements, and for special visitors, but she had never been personally invited to anything. Nervousness stirred in her chest, mixed with excitement. Could this be some kind of reward or perhaps a special honor? She wondered if her small acts of kindness had been noticed. As she walked toward the town square, Ebony's mind was a whirlwind of thoughts. She pictured the crowded square, the loud voices of the villagers, and the possibility of being called forward in front of everyone. What if it was a mistake? What if people laughed at her? She clutched the envelope tightly, trying to calm her racing heart. The path to the square passed by familiar sights. The old baobab tree near the river, the small clay wells where children played, and the market stalls already beginning to set up for the day. Everything looked ordinary, yet Ebony felt a sense of anticipation that made even the ordinary feel extraordinary. Every step seemed slower, as if the village itself held its breath, waiting for what was to come. As she approached the square, she noticed other villagers already gathering. Some carried baskets, others stood in small groups chatting quietly. The town square was larger than she remembered, a wide open space surrounded by colorful houses and the tall, sturdy trees that gave Lufia its shade. In the center, a small wooden platform had been set up. Ebony's eyes widened. Who would speak from there? What could be so important? A gentle breeze brushed her face, carrying the scent of fresh bread from a nearby stall and the earthy smell of the river. Ebony's nerves fluttered. She remembered her mother's words that morning, "Stay calm, my daughter. Life sometimes brings surprises that we do not expect. Face them with courage." Mama Tola had been preparing vegetables, humming a soft tune, but her eyes had shone with something like hope. Perhaps she had known Ebony would receive something unusual today. People began to notice her as she walked closer to the center of the gathering. Some whispered quietly among themselves. "Ebony? What is she doing here?" "I didn't know she was invited," another voice said. Ebony kept walking, holding her head high, though her heart pounded fiercely. She felt a mixture of embarrassment and pride. For the first time, she was the one people were watching. As she reached the platform, a man stepped forward to speak. His name was Jabari, a kind-looking elder who often traveled between villages. His voice was calm but carried authority. "Today," he said, "we recognize a young woman from Lufia who has shown extraordinary courage and kindness in her community. She has been chosen for a special honor." Ebony's eyes widened and she felt a warm flush on her cheeks. Could it be her? Had he been speaking about her all along? Jabari gestured toward her, and a small assistant handed her a wrapped box. Ebony hesitated. She had no idea what it contained. Carefully, she unwrapped it to reveal a delicate locket, shining softly in the sunlight. She held it in her hands, turning it over, admiring the intricate design. It was unlike anything she had ever seen. Her fingers traced the smooth surface, and she felt a sudden connection to something larger than herself. The crowd around her clapped softly, and Ebony could hear whispers of admiration. She felt both nervous and proud, a strange mixture of emotions she could hardly name. Jabari smiled at her warmly. "This locket belonged to your grandmother," he said softly. "It carries a message and a legacy. Only you can understand its meaning when the time comes." Ebony's heart raced. She had grown up hearing stories about her grandmother, Mama Kasai, who had passed away many years ago. She remembered the tales of her grandmother's wisdom, her kindness, and her knowledge of healing herbs. Could this locket be connected to those stories? She felt a shiver run down her spine as she held it close. People began to step back, giving her space. Ebony felt a strange mixture of disbelief and curiosity. She could not believe this was happening to her. Her quiet, simple life in the market had never prepared her for something like this. And yet, here she was, standing in the center of the square, holding a gift that seemed to call to her in ways she could not yet understand. Jabari leaned closer and whispered, "Your life is about to change, Ebony. What you do with this gift is up to you, but remember, courage and kindness will guide you." His words seemed to echo in her mind. She took a deep breath, feeling a sense of purpose that she had never felt before. Her legs trembled slightly, but her hands held the locket firmly. As the gathering began to disperse, villagers approached her quietly, offering congratulations and kind words. Some were surprised, others curious, but all seemed to recognize that something special was happening. Ebony thanked them politely, her mind buzzing with questions and possibilities. She still could not believe that a simple morning, a small envelope, had changed everything. By the time she returned to her home, the sun was higher in the sky, and the market was bustling with activity. Mama Tola was waiting at the stall, her eyes shining with quiet pride. "Ebony, my daughter," she said softly, "I knew today would come. I could feel it." Ebony smiled, still holding the locket close. She could not yet understand all that it meant, but she knew her life had shifted in a way she could never have imagined. That evening, as the village settled and the wind carried the faint scent of river water and fresh bread, Ebony sat quietly under the baobab tree near her home. She held the locket in her hand, turning it over and over, feeling its smooth edges and intricate patterns. Questions raced through her mind. Who had sent the envelope? Why had she been chosen? And what would happen next? She could not answer any of these questions, but a sense of excitement and anticipation filled her heart. Ebony realized that life was sometimes full of surprises, and that courage often began with curiosity. She had taken the first step into the unknown simply by opening an envelope. Ebony stood in the town square, clutching the envelope that had brought her here. The crowd around her was lively, full of villagers talking and laughing. Children ran past, playing with small wooden toys, and merchants called out the prices of their goods. It was a warm day, and the sun shone down brightly, making the colors of the market more vivid. Ebony felt her heart beating faster as she tried to understand why she had been brought to this gathering. She had never expected such attention in her quiet life. Among the villagers, Ebony noticed someone unusual. A tall, gentle-looking man with kind eyes and a calm smile watched her from the edge of the crowd. His presence was different from the others. He seemed composed, patient, and focused. Something about him felt familiar, though she had never seen him before. She tilted her head slightly, unsure why her eyes kept returning to him. The man stepped forward, and the crowd parted slightly as if giving him space. Ebony felt a mix of curiosity and nervousness. The man's gaze was warm, but it carried a quiet authority. "Ebony," he called softly, his voice gentle but clear. "Come forward." The way he spoke her name made her stop in her tracks. How did he know her name? She had never met him before, yet there was no question about who he was addressing. Ebony hesitated for a moment, glancing at the villagers around her. They watched silently, some whispering among themselves but none interrupted. She stepped forward carefully, unsure what to expect. Her hands were clammy, and the envelope in her pocket felt heavy. Every step toward the stranger made her more curious and more cautious at the same time. When she reached him, the man smiled warmly. "I am Jabari," he said, bowing his head slightly. "I have been sent to guide you." He extended his hands and held a small, wrapped box toward her. The box was simple but elegant, covered in brown paper tied with a thin string. Ebony took it slowly, her fingers trembling slightly. She could feel the weight of it both physically and in her mind. She looked up at Jabari. "Guide me? I don't understand." "Who are you?" she asked softly. Her voice was barely above a whisper, but it carried all the questions and wonder she felt inside. Jabari's eyes crinkled with a gentle smile. "All will be revealed in time," he said calmly. "But you must accept this first. It is for you and you alone." Ebony's hands shook as she untied the string and carefully removed the wrapping. Inside lay a delicate locket, small and shining, with intricate patterns carved on its surface. She held it up to the sunlight, turning it slowly. It was beautiful and unlike anything she had ever seen. Her breath caught in her throat. She could not believe that someone had given her such a gift. Jabari's voice broke her thoughts. "This locket belonged to your grandmother," he said softly. "She kept it safe for you, waiting for the right moment." Inside you will find a message and a legacy meant only for you. Ebony's eyes widened. Her grandmother, Mama Kasai, had passed away many years ago, but she had always been told stories of her wisdom, her kindness, and the special ways she helped people. Could this locket really be connected to her grandmother? Ebony carefully opened the locket. Inside was a small folded note, yellowed slightly with age. She unfolded it gently, reading the neat handwriting. It spoke of her family's special gift, the ability to help others with care, herbs, and knowledge of nature. The note explained that this gift had been passed down through generations, waiting for the right person to continue it. Ebony felt her hands tremble. Her quiet, simple life had suddenly taken on a new meaning. She had never imagined that she could have such an important destiny. Jabari watched her closely, his eyes calm and patient. "This gift is yours to explore," he said softly. "But it will not be easy. You must learn, grow, and face challenges along the way. Are you ready to begin?" Ebony felt a mixture of fear and excitement. She had never left Lufia, never traveled to new villages, and never thought of herself as special. But holding the locket, she felt a connection to something larger than herself, something powerful and important. The villagers watched silently, sensing the significance of the moment. Some whispered quietly to one another. "It is her," one said. "The one the elders spoke of." Others nodded in agreement. The square felt different now, as if the air itself held a quiet anticipation. Ebony's mind was spinning, filled with questions and thoughts she could not yet answer. She looked at Jabari again. I don't know if I am ready," she admitted, her voice soft. "I have lived a simple life. How can I do something so important?" Jabari smiled gently. "Courage is not the absence of fear, Ebony. It is the choice to move forward despite fear. Your heart has already shown courage. The locket is a symbol, and the guidance you need is here. Trust yourself." Ebony nodded slowly, still feeling the weight of the locket in her hands. She could feel her heart beating faster, a mix of excitement, fear, and determination. This was the first step into something unknown, something extraordinary. She had never imagined that a single morning, a small envelope, could lead to such a moment. Yet here she was, holding the key to a legacy she had never known. Jabari stepped back slightly, giving her space to absorb the moment. "Take your time," he said softly. "Learn what you can, and when the time is right you will understand your true purpose. But know this, you have been chosen for a reason. You are ready even if you do not yet see it." Ebony's eyes filled with wonder. Could she really be ready? Could she truly take on the responsibility described in the note? She held the locket tightly, feeling a sense of warmth and encouragement. The crowd slowly began to disperse, leaving Ebony standing in the square, clutching the locket and thinking about everything that had just happened. Villagers smiled at her and nodded, some whispering congratulations. Ebony realized that she had become the center of attention not because of wealth or status, but because of something deeper, her potential, her courage, and the legacy she carried. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, Ebony walked slowly back toward her home, her mind filled with possibilities. She held the locket close to her heart, imagining the lessons she might learn, the people she might meet, and the changes that could come. Mama Tola was waiting at their stall, her eyes bright with curiosity and pride. "Ebony, my daughter," she said softly, "what have you found?" Ebony smiled, still amazed by the morning's events. I received something," she said, opening her hands to show the locket. "A gift from my grandmother, a legacy I never knew I had." Mama Tola reached out, holding her daughter's hands gently. "I always knew you were special, Ebony. Perhaps now you will understand why." Ebony nodded, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. The journey ahead was unknown, but she felt ready to take her first steps. That evening, as the village settled and the sun began to set, Ebony sat under the baobab tree near her home, turning the locket over in her hands. She thought about Jabari, the note, and the promise of guidance. She realized that life had just opened a new door for her, one she could not have imagined even in her dreams. She felt a sense of anticipation and hope, knowing that tomorrow might bring lessons, challenges, and discoveries she had never expected. Ebony sat under the large baobab tree near her home, the delicate locket still resting in her hands. Its gold surface caught the afternoon sunlight, gleaming softly, as though it held a secret just for her. Her fingers traced the tiny patterns carved into the metal, feeling a connection she could not explain. Jabari's words echoed in her mind, "This locket belonged to your grandmother. Inside is a message and a legacy meant only for you." She felt a mix of wonder, fear, and curiosity swirling in her chest. She opened the locket again and carefully unfolded the small note tucked inside. The paper was slightly yellowed, the edges frayed, but the handwriting was neat and precise. It was her grandmother's script, elegant and strong. The note spoke of things Ebony had never imagined. Her family had a rare gift, a power to help and heal others with care, herbs and knowledge of nature. Ebony read the words slowly, feeling each sentence sink into her heart. The quiet girl who sold vegetables in the market suddenly seemed connected to a lineage of wisdom and purpose that reached far beyond the village of Lufia. Her heart raced as she tried to understand what the note meant. She had grown up learning small remedies from her mother, a leaf for a cough, a root for a headache, but she had never thought of these as part of something greater. Could it really be that she had inherited her grandmother's gift? Could she truly help people in a way that was extraordinary? The thought made her pulse quicken with excitement, but also with doubt. She was just Ebony, the girl who carried baskets of vegetables to the market each morning. How could she suddenly be someone destined for greatness? Jabari's calm voice returned to her memory. You have been chosen for a reason. Courage and kindness will guide you. Ebony thought about her own life, the quiet mornings with Mama Tola, the gentle smiles she shared with neighbors, the small acts of kindness she had always performed without thought. Could these small gestures truly be the foundation of something so important? The realization made her both humble and proud. She had never considered that the simple choices she made every day could be part of a larger purpose. As she held the locket, Ebony's mind began to imagine what her grandmother had been like. Mama Kasai had been known for her wisdom and her ability to heal with herbs and care. People from villages far away had traveled to seek her guidance. Ebony remembered the stories her mother told, how her grandmother had comforted the sick, taught others to care for the earth, and helped the villagers find balance in their lives. That legacy was now in Ebony's hands, waiting for her to accept it. A wave of responsibility washed over her. She felt small, unsure if she could rise to the challenge. How could she, who had only ever known the quiet routine of the market and her simple village, step into such a powerful role? Doubts crept into her mind, whispering that she was not ready, that she was too young, too inexperienced, too ordinary. She looked at the locket again, and it seemed to shine brighter, almost encouraging her. Determined to understand, Ebony decided she could not wait for answers to come to her. She would have to seek them out. She thought of Jabari, the kind man who had handed her the locket. He had said he was there to guide her. Perhaps he could help her learn what the note meant. The idea of traveling beyond Lufia, to meet elders who could teach her, both thrilled and frightened her. It was a world she had never seen, yet it called to her like a whisper on the wind. Ebony's thoughts returned to her mother, Mama Tola, who was busy at the market. She remembered how her mother had taught her the first lessons in care, which leaves to use for minor cuts, how to brew teas for upset stomachs, and how to recognize plants that could heal. Ebony realized that those lessons, once thought simple and ordinary, were preparing her for this moment. Her mother's quiet guidance had been more powerful than she had known. The sun began to dip lower in the sky, painting the village in shades of gold and orange. Ebony clutched the locket tightly, feeling a mixture of fear and determination. The note had revealed a gift, a power she had never expected to possess, but it also carried responsibility. How she chose to use it would shape not only her own life but the lives of everyone around her. The thought made her feel both heavy and honored. She had never imagined that she could have such an influence, and yet the possibility filled her with courage. A gentle breeze rustled the leaves of the baobab tree, and Ebony felt as if the air itself carried encouragement. She remembered Jabari's words, "Courage is not the absence of fear, but the choice to move forward despite it." She took a deep breath, letting the words sink in. Courage was not about knowing everything or being perfect. It was about taking the first step, even when the path was unclear. Holding the locket, she felt ready to take that step. Ebony's eyes scanned the village around her. Life went on as usual. Children played, merchants shouted their prices, neighbors chatted. But for Ebony, everything had changed. The world she had known, ordinary and predictable, now seemed filled with possibilities. Each familiar path, each small corner of Lufia, felt as if it held a secret waiting for her to discover. Her quiet life had hidden an extraordinary destiny all along. Her mind began to imagine what the future could be. She would learn from elders who knew the secrets of healing. She would study herbs, understand the ways of nature, and find ways to help people who were sick or in pain. She could see herself walking through forests, collecting leaves and roots, listening to the whispers of the earth. Ebony's heart beat faster at the thought. It was a life full of purpose, learning, and courage, a life she had never dared to dream of before. But even as excitement filled her heart, doubt still lingered. Could she really do this? Could she carry the weight of her family's gift? What if she failed? What if she was not strong enough? Ebony's fingers tightened around the locket. She knew that the fear she felt was part of the journey. Without it, courage would have no meaning. She had to trust herself, trust the guidance of her grandmother, and take the first step toward discovering her true potential. As night began to fall over Lufia, the village settled into quiet. Fires burned softly in the homes, and the sounds of the river and crickets filled the air. Ebony sat beneath the baobab tree, still holding the locket. The stars began to appear in the darkening sky, tiny points of light shining like reminders of the vast world beyond her village. She felt a connection to something greater, to her grandmother, to her family's legacy, and to the path that awaited her. Ebony realized that this revelation was only the beginning. The locket had shown her the gift, but it was up to her to learn, to grow, and to use it wisely. She could not yet see all that lay ahead, but she felt ready to embrace the journey. Her quiet days in the market had given her patience, kindness, and observation, qualities that would guide her now. Everything she had known had prepared her for this moment, even if she had not realized it. She stood slowly, the locket still in her hand, and looked toward the horizon. The journey would not be easy. She would face challenges, learn new skills, and encounter situations she could not yet imagine. But for the first time, Ebony felt a sense of purpose, a feeling that she was part of something extraordinary. Her life was no longer just ordinary days in the market. It was a path filled with discovery, courage, and meaning. Ebony took a deep breath, feeling the cool night air fill her lungs. She tucked the locket close to her heart, promising herself that she would honor her grandmother's legacy. Whatever challenges came, she would face them with courage and kindness. Her quiet, simple life had revealed an extraordinary destiny, one she could not have imagined, yet one she was now ready to embrace. She looked up at the stars one last time, feeling their gentle light like a guiding hand. The gift she had inherited was powerful, and she knew that the path ahead would change not only her life but the lives of those around her. Ebony could hardly believe what she had discovered today. Her ordinary days in the market had hidden an extraordinary destiny, and now, with courage and determination, she was ready to step into it. Ebony held the locket tightly in her hand as she sat beneath the baobab tree near her home. The soft gold glimmer of the metal seemed to pulse gently, as if alive, encouraging her to take the next step. Jabari had explained that this gift, this rare ability to heal and help others, would not be easy to master. It would require learning, patience, and courage. The thought of leaving Lufia for a new village, a place she had never been, filled her with both excitement and fear. Mama Tola had been her guide and companion for all her life. Every morning, Ebony had woken to help her mother prepare the market stall, sweeping the dusty paths, arranging vegetables and fruits, and greeting neighbors with a smile. The market had always been her world, the place where life felt predictable and safe. Leaving it would feel like stepping into the unknown, and for a moment she hesitated, unsure if she could do it. Her heart thudded in her chest as she thought about Kintari, the village Jabari had described. It was said to be a place where the elders had spent decades mastering the art of healing. They knew the secrets of herbs, the gentle touch that eased pain, and the careful balance of nature and medicine. If she wanted to learn, she would have to leave everything familiar behind: her mother, her friends, the narrow streets she knew so well. The fear of leaving threatened to hold her back. But then Ebony looked down at the locket. Its soft glow seemed almost magical, a reminder that she was not alone and that the gift in her hands had been waiting for her all along. She thought of her grandmother, Mama Kesai, whose wisdom had inspired generations. Could it be that this locket had waited through time for the right moment, for the right person to take it seriously? A warmth spread through her chest, and she realized that courage often came not from the absence of fear, but from the decision to move forward despite it. Ebony pictured the elders of Kintari, their faces kind but serious, teaching her how to recognize plants, prepare healing remedies, and use her knowledge to help others. She imagined walking through forests, collecting roots and leaves, learning the ways of nature she had only glimpsed in the small garden behind her home. The thought made her heart race with excitement. This was an opportunity she could not ignore. She thought of Mama Tola again, worried about what her mother might think. Would she understand why Ebony had to leave? Would she be upset or proud? Ebony felt a pang of guilt at the thought of leaving her mother alone. But she knew that Mama Tola had always wanted the best for her. The market, the stalls, the familiar paths, they were part of their life, but they were not the life that was waiting for her. The locket and Jabari's guidance had opened a door, and she had to step through it. Taking a deep breath, Ebony stood slowly, feeling the weight of the locket and the responsibility it represented. She imagined her journey to Kintari, the dusty roads winding through forests and hills, the distant mountains and rivers she would pass along the way. Each step would be a step toward her destiny, and though fear lingered, determination began to grow stronger in its place. She could feel the excitement building, a sense of purpose she had never known before. Jabari's words returned to her mind, "This gift is yours to explore. You have been chosen for a reason. Courage and kindness will guide you." Ebony closed her eyes for a moment, letting the words sink in. The locket was a symbol of her family's legacy, a connection to her grandmother, and a reminder that she had the strength within her to take on the challenges ahead. She was ready to leave her comfort behind, to step into a world she had never imagined, and to learn how to use her gift wisely. She spent the evening carefully packing a small bag with the essentials she would need for her journey. A few changes of clothes, some dried fruits and nuts, and a small knife for safety. Everything else she could learn along the way. As she packed, she thought about the lessons she had already learned in Lufia: patience, observation, and the simple acts of kindness she had practiced each day. These lessons would guide her, even in an unfamiliar place. The next morning the village was quiet, the air cool with early sunlight. Ebony hugged Mama Tola tightly, feeling tears prick her eyes. "I will learn everything I can," she said softly. "I promise I will return with knowledge and skill to help others, just as our family has always done." Mama Tola nodded, holding her daughter's face in her hands. "I know you are ready, Ebony," she said. "This journey is meant for you. Go with courage." With the locket around her neck and her small bag on her back, Ebony stepped onto the path leading out of Lufia. The streets she had known all her life stretched behind her, and the unknown road ahead invited her forward. Birds sang in the trees, and the morning sun warmed her face. She felt a mixture of fear and excitement, knowing that each step would bring her closer to the elders of Kintari, and to the lessons that would transform her life. Along the way, Ebony thought about the people she might meet. Villagers who were sick or in pain, travelers with questions, and the elders who would teach her the secrets of healing. She imagined herself helping them, offering comfort and knowledge. The thought made her smile. The locket glowed softly against her chest, a gentle reminder that she was not alone, and that she carried the wisdom of generations with her. The path was not easy. She walked through dusty plains, crossed small streams, and climbed gentle hills. Each step tested her endurance, but her determination never wavered. At night, she rested beneath trees, listening to the sounds of the forest and thinking about what she had learned so far. Even the smallest discoveries, like the shapes of leaves or the smell of herbs, felt important. She was learning to see the world differently, with attention, care, and respect. The first lessons of her gift. Days passed, and Ebony began to notice changes within herself. She felt more confident, more observant, and more aware of the power of patience. She realized that leaving her home and comfort had not only been a challenge but a chance to grow in ways she could not have imagined. Her fear had not disappeared, but it no longer controlled her. Courage had taken its place, guiding each step forward. Finally, as she approached the outskirts of Kintari, Ebony could see the village nestled among trees and hills. Smoke rose from small clay chimneys, and the sound of villagers going about their day drifted to her ears. She felt a rush of anticipation. The elders would be there to teach her, to guide her through the lessons of her gift, and to help her discover the power she had inherited. She could hardly believe that this moment had arrived. Ebony took a deep breath and stepped into the village. She felt the locket against her chest, warm and reassuring. The journey had been long and the challenges had tested her courage, but she had arrived ready to begin the next chapter of her life. With curiosity in her heart and determination in her mind, she knew that her journey of learning, healing, and helping others was only just beginning. She looked around at Kintari, imagining the lessons ahead, learning the names of herbs, understanding the ways to prepare remedies, listening to the wisdom of elders who had spent decades mastering their craft. She felt a sense of purpose, as if her path had been waiting for her all along. Fear still lingered in the edges of her mind, but she knew it would not stop her. She was ready to embrace her destiny. That evening, as the sun set over Kintari, painting the sky with shades of pink and gold, Ebony rested beneath a tree near the village center. The locket glimmered softly in the fading light, and she felt a quiet strength growing inside her. The challenge of leaving home, traveling to a new place, and stepping into the unknown had been faced. She had taken the first step toward mastering her gift, and she knew many more challenges would come. Yet Ebony felt a sense of hope and excitement she had never known before. Her heart beat with courage and her mind buzzed with possibilities. She had left Lufia, faced her fears, and arrived in Kintari ready to learn, ready to grow, and ready to discover the extraordinary gift that had been waiting for her all along. Abani stepped off the dusty path leading into Kintari, her heart beating with a mix of nervousness and excitement. The village looked small but welcoming, with clay houses surrounded by fields of herbs and flowers. Smoke rose gently from chimneys, carrying the earthy scent of cooking fires and dried plants. She adjusted the strap of her small bag and touched the locket around her neck, feeling the soft warmth as if it were encouraging her. This was the place where her journey of transformation would begin. The elders greeted her with kind smiles and wise eyes that seemed to see her potential even before she had shown it. Their voices were calm but firm, and each word they spoke carried the weight of years of experience. They welcomed her into their circle, explaining that she would begin her training in the ways of herbs, natural remedies, and the gentle care of those in need. Abani listened carefully, feeling both awe and anticipation. She had never imagined a life beyond Lufia, but now she realized her world was far bigger than she had ever known. The first lessons were simple: identifying plants, understanding their uses, and learning which parts of each plant were most effective for different ailments. Abani spent hours in the fields, bending over roots, leaves and flowers, learning to notice the subtle differences between them. Her hands grew skilled at handling the fragile herbs, and her mind sharpened as she memorized their properties. Each day the elders would watch her carefully, offering corrections, encouragement and praise. Slowly, Abani began to see the patterns in nature, the harmony in how each plant could be used to help others. Some days were difficult. Abani grew tired from long hours of study, and sometimes she struggled to remember all the details the elders taught her. But she persevered, reminding herself of the locket, her grandmother, and the promise she had made to use this gift wisely. Whenever she felt doubt, she would close her eyes and feel the warmth of the locket, remembering Jabari's words, "Courage is not the absence of fear, but the choice to move forward despite it." With each lesson, her confidence grew, and her fear began to fade. As weeks turned into months, Abani's skill deepened. She learned not only to prepare remedies but to understand the people she was helping, their fears, their needs, and their feelings. The elders taught her that healing was not just about the body, but also about comforting the heart and mind. Abani discovered that she had a natural talent for listening, for sensing what someone needed before they even spoke it. Her gentle presence began to make others feel calm and safe, and she realized that this gift had been inside her all along. The days in Kintari were filled with discovery. Abani experimented with mixtures of herbs, tested the effectiveness of different leaves and roots, and practiced the careful art of applying remedies. Each success brought a small spark of joy, and each failure taught her patience and humility. She learned to respect the power of nature, to treat every plant with care, and to use her knowledge only for good. The locket remained close to her heart, a constant reminder of her family's legacy and the responsibility she carried. One morning, an elder named Sephu invited Abani to help a villager who had been sick for weeks. At first, she felt nervous. It was her first real test outside of practice. But she remembered all she had learned, and she approached the task with calm focus. She prepared the remedy carefully, following the instructions she had been taught, and offered gentle words of comfort. Within a few days, the villager's condition improved noticeably, and Abani felt a surge of pride and wonder. She had taken the lessons of the elders and applied them in real life, helping someone in need. The elders watched her progress with satisfaction. They had seen her grow from a nervous, uncertain girl into a capable, thoughtful healer. They reminded her that true mastery came not only from knowledge but also from compassion and patience. Abani listened intently, understanding now that the gift she had inherited was not just about skill, but about heart. She felt grateful for the training, the guidance, and the wisdom that had been shared with her, and she began to dream of returning to Lufia, bringing her knowledge and her healing touch to the village that had shaped her childhood. Finally, after months of study, Abani knew she was ready to return home. She packed her belongings carefully, ensuring she had everything she needed to continue her work. She said goodbye to the elders, bowing respectfully and thanking them for their patience and guidance. They smiled, telling her that the journey had just begun and that she would continue to learn with each person she helped. Abani felt a mix of excitement and anticipation. She was leaving Kintari not as the girl who had arrived timid and unsure, but as a young healer, confident and capable, ready to embrace her destiny.